actually you're kind of lucky if you have a situation or somebody that kind of every now and then disturbs your times of silence and peace. I've told this story over the years a few times. Pardon me, I'll try to do it very quickly. But when I started to get involved in Zen, and like I said, what I did was I just sat around and meditated a lot. And so I built this little meditation hut in the backyard. Beautiful little hut in the corner of the backyard. And I would go in there and meditate in the mornings and the evenings and, God knows when. The problem I had is I had this wonderful dog. And the dog was half German Shepherd and half Husky. And it was a wonderful, wonderful dog. But the dog, for some reason, whenever I would go in to meditate, if you can imagine a corner, and there's a meditation hut sort of shoved into the corner, but it's about this far away from the fence in the backyard, all the way around this corner. It's about less than a foot, maybe 10 inches of gap between my meditation hut on two sides and the fence. And for some reason, when I'd sit and meditate, my dog would start to circumnavigate this little meditation hut. And of course, it was this wide, and so he scraped, through, the fur, and then around and around and around and around and around. So literally, every time he'd just start circumnavigating. And then the neighbor's dog, who barked at the drop of a hat, the neighbor's dog would sense that I was there, and another dog circumnavigating. So the neighbor's dog would come right up to the fence and start barking. Now, mind you, he's barking 10 inches away from where I'm sitting. There just has to be two thin pieces of wood, right? The fence and the plywood that I'd built this little hut with. And so circumnavigating and a dog barking. And I'm sitting in there trying to... no effort, no seeking, and it drove me nuts. Absolutely bananas. And so I tried to figure out all sorts of different strategies how to deal with this. First, I tried with controlling the dogs. I quickly found out, forget it. There's nothing you can do to control the dogs. So I thought, well, I'll try to change my environment on the inside. So I tried new things, but the truth was, no matter what I tried, in my mind, I wanted these dogs to stop doing what they were doing. Right? That's what I really wanted to happen. So I was just going on and on and on. This went on for weeks. And finally one day, after I'd tried every meditative strategy that I could, finally one day I went out in the backyard in the morning, and I went into the hut and I sat down, and the dog started circumnavigating and the neighbor's dog started barking, and just something in me just kind of said, screw it. Let the damn thing bark. Let the circumnavigating happen. I've had it. Just forget it. And I just sat there in that feeling. I've just forget it. I didn't get up, but I just sat there. And they kept going, and all of a sudden I started to notice that in that attitude, there was peace. And the dog was still barking 10 inches from where I was sitting, and still circumnavigating. And I thought, I'll be darned. And I had this little insight, not a huge insight, but a little one. Sometimes the little ones are the most important. And the little insight was, I realized that in my mind, deep in my mind, I had this thought that it said, I don't want these dogs to be barking and circumnavigating, and why do they do this, and there's something wrong. And all of a sudden I saw that thought, and I thought, that thought can't be true. Why can't it be true? Because they are barking, and they are circumnavigating, and that's what's actually happening. What they should or shouldn't be doing couldn't be true, because that's not what's happening. Right? And even though it was sort of this little insight, it led to this great relaxation. And after a while I was sitting, and I just noticed my mind was quiet. I was at peace. Dogs barking didn't matter. In fact, whatever I was experiencing on the inside didn't matter. It was just more environment. Really, the dogs were just sort of a perfect example of what my mind was doing. You know? And I realized there's nothing I can do about that either. And all of a sudden everything was quiet. A strange thing happened about 10 minutes into this quiet. My dog sat down right in front of the door. I could hear him curl up and sit right in front of the door. The neighbor's dog stopped barking. Never barked again. In all the years I sat in there, never barked again. And every time I'd go out there, my dog would come, sit right in front of the door, curl up, and have a nap. And again, that was an exterior teaching of also something interior. Realizing that the truth of who we are and what we are doesn't have a problem with these things. And they don't need to stop happening. Nobody needs to be quiet for us to be at peace. Nothing needs to change. Nobody needs to alter the way they are. Nothing needs to be directed by the little inner tyrant in your head so that it can have peace. Very, very significant realization. It wasn't necessarily awakening, but it was very significant realization.